Happy June 30th to all of you out there. Listen, I've got some good news and some bad news. Which do you want first? Yeah, as I thought, the bad news. Here's the bad news. Donald Trump is going to be sentenced to prison. He's going to be sentenced to prison. And you might say, well, that's kind of impossible. But let's look at what we have seen over the last few years. Donald Trump has been the victim of 2 phony impeachment hearings. He's been the victim of Jack Smith, another corrupt individual involved in lawfare, going after Donald Trump for having so-called top secret documents at home, which, by the way, he was entitled to, and the Supreme Court's going to apparently rule on that tomorrow. He was entitled to, while at the same time, Joe Biden, who stole documents from the SCIF in the Senate room and had them for decades, stored in his garage in an unsafe place. Well, he's not going to be prosecuted for anything. In fact, if you listen to Joe Biden, he says, I'm innocent. The special prosecutor found that I did nothing wrong. Sorry, Joe, that was a lie, which you're very good at, well, or very bad at. It wasn't a lie. No, it was a lie, Joe. He found that you were totally and completely incompetent, and nobody would want to bring you into court. You'd have a sympathetic jury, which is always good when you're a criminal, Joe. But here with Jack Smith, they're going after him. We've seen all sorts of things. Letitia James, she's going after him. We saw Alvin Bragg. We saw Judge Juan Merchan going after him. All of these guys and women, ladies, and well, I can't even call most of them ladies. They went after him to absolutely destroy him. Now, when we go back to Nancy Pelosi, and people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, what they wanted to do with their phony impeachment stuff, because remember, they are corrupt as heck. She's this gal who turned her little career and her $100,000 plus a year salary into hundreds, at least $100 million. Insider trading, trading, and all the other stuff she's involved in. They wanted to go after Trump and taint him because if he was successfully impeached and convicted, meaning tried in the House of Representatives and then convicted in the Senate, which didn't take place, didn't happen, then he would not be able to run for president of the United States again. And they failed in that. Yes, of course, they convicted him in the House or found him guilty in the House, but didn't happen in the Senate. But they wanted to taint him because had it been successful, he would not be able to run for president of the United States. Well, that didn't work out for him because it was BS. It was like listening to Raging Bull, Robert De Niro, and all the junk that he was putting forward. But that didn't work. So they went after him with Jack Smith. They're trying to make sure he can't run. Why? We need to stop and really examine this and think about it. The Democrats are so afraid of losing power. Now, they are not leaders. They are rulers. They want to rule you. They are more concerned about power than they are about the American people, which makes me wonder why any American person would vote for any Democrat under any type of situation or circumstances that we find ourselves in now. The most corrupt political party on the planet, it seems like now. In fact, I'd almost rather have ISIS in charge of the Democrat than the current DNC. Yes, I know that's a terrible juxtaposition to make, but at least ISIS comes out and says, yeah, we suck. And we're going to kill you. Now, the Democratic Party does it a little bit different. Yes, the Democratic Party sucks, but they're trying to kill you silently. Might remind you of a song, Killing Me Softly, with his song, only they're doing it with something worse than a song. The economy and you name it, stealing our rights. And of course, they're crying about democracy being destroyed. Joe Biden ran to protect democracy. No, he didn't. He ran to keep democracy in check, even though we truly don't have democracy. We're a representative republic. But they just want power. And they want to destroy Donald Trump. And you know something? They haven't been successful at it. And you got to stop and think. I have recently watched a video called, not a video, but a video channel on YouTube called Appalachia's Homestead. And I like the gal. And she was talking about somebody else accusing her of thinking Trump was the Messiah. Furthest thing from the truth, and I have not ever communicated with her, so I apologize to her in advance if I shouldn't have mentioned this. But she, for the most part, has homespun wisdom and is right on. There's a point in here somewhere. I'm going to get to it. And I've almost forgot what it was. There's so much on my mind today. Yeah, let's forget about that. We'll set that aside and get back to Trump being the Messiah. Trump is obviously not the Messiah, though at the same time, here he is, he's a billionaire. He could live a life grand, well, he has. He could stay in Mar-a-Lago, he could play golf every day. He doesn't need this. He doesn't need all of the heartache, which tells me he is doing this not out of ego. He's doing this because he loves America. He loves America. He loves all of you, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, he cares about you. And while he certainly isn't the Messiah, he does remind me of that scripture that says, no greater love hath any man than he lays down his life for a friend. And you know something? Donald Trump must have a lot of friends because he's laying down his life. He's risking going to prison, which I'll get back to in just a moment, and he's doing it for you. He is running for you. Now, how many of you actually saw Thursday night's debate, if you can call it that? And the thing I found interesting about the debate, and going back and thinking about all of these celebrities that have come out in support of him, like Julia Roberts, Jimmy Kimmel, Robert De Niro, the crazy and raging BS guy, and many, many others. They've been lying to us about Joe Biden. Remember Michael Douglas? Michael Douglas, I believe, came out, and I'll paraphrase, and this may not be entirely accurate. Notice I'll admit that up front. He came out and said that Donald Trump is sharp as a tack. And he must have been talking about not Donald Trump, excuse me. Yeah, Donald Trump is sharp as a tack. Joe Biden, he said, was sharp as a tack. Well, Joe Biden, if he's sharp as a tack, it must be the dull side of the tack, because he's brain dead, basically. But we've seen Joey Reid, Rachel Madcow, Joey Behar, Sonny Houston, all these people coming out and lying and telling us Joe Biden is right on, he's good, he's great, he's perfect, he's going to protect democracy. And they've got basically two lines that they're going to go with here, and that is protecting democracy. Democracy has only been in danger because of the Democratic Party, primarily run by progressives and communists at this particular point. I mean, they've actually absolutely destroyed this country. But all of these people have been involved in it. And now the media, after seeing this debate, have kind of been caught with their pants down. They've lied to us repeatedly. And, one of the biggest liars of all, well, she's right up there at least, is Karine Jean-Pierre, who came out and said these videos of Biden and his mental problems, his cognitive abilities kind of downhill. It's a deep fake. Remember that? She came out and said it's a deep fake. She's a liar. In fact, that must be her only talent because she doesn't have any others, that's for sure. She lied about it, but they couldn't hide it in the debate. It was within, less than 3 minutes, or the opening minute almost, Joe Biden, his cognitive abilities failed him completely and revealed him for the absolute failure he is. And let me just say something about that. One of the things the media is trying to do right now is, we're talking about age. It's age because we see Donald Trump is about the same age, and there's 3 or 4 years difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Let me tell you, the problem is not age. My beloved father, who recently passed away, a little over 4 months ago, he was approaching 90 years old. I would put him up, even in his current condition in the grave, against Joe Biden, because it wasn't my dad's age that was a problem, ever. He was still very, very cognitive. But Joe Biden, hey, His health, fine. Physical infirmities. We've had presidents with physical infirmities in the past. You might remember Franklin Roosevelt. He had polio, spent a lot of time in back braces or wheelchairs, etc. John F. Kennedy wore back braces after injuries in World War II. We have seen this repeatedly. It is not somebody's need for a cane or a wheelchair that is a problem. In fact, if that was Joe Biden's only problem, I still wouldn't like him because he's incompetent. But I would not complain about his age because that's not the problem. It is his mental abilities, his cognitive abilities. He has none. None. So the Democratic Party is in a panic right now. Absolute panic. They're talking about replacing Joe Biden, which they should have done a long time ago. In fact, they should invoke the 25th Amendment right now, which there's a little talk behind the scenes, to remove him as president of the United States. But Joe Biden's party was really smart, and that was putting Kamala Harris, another waste case politician who, remember how successful she's been as borders are? Well, if you were to invoke the 25th Amendment, that would mean that Kamala Harris would become president of the United States. Now, the Democratic Party may still think about this because, after all, first women, the glass ceiling. Remember Hillary Clinton? She wanted to go through the glass ceiling. Well, I would have said, hey, we could already see, Hillary, what kind of creep and cretin you actually are in advance of that. But Kamala Harris would become president of the United States. That would further the disaster because she's just as incompetent, if not more, than Joe Biden. Now, maybe not more, but she's incompetent. But what is going to happen at this particular point? And I'm hoping that I'm proven wrong here. And that is, there are two things coming up in July that are important. One is the Republican convention, where Donald Trump would accept the nomination, the party's nomination for president of the United States. And I think that's July 17th, if I remember right. But there's something very, very important that happens a few days earlier. And I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. But tomorrow is the end of the Supreme Court's term. And they'll, of course, go on vacation hiatus for a period of time. And we need them right now because, based on some of these things that have been going on, there may need to be an emergency appeal to the United States Supreme Court to stop certain things that are happening. But let's set that aside. We may talk about that more tomorrow when they come out with their decision on presidential immunity. But on July 11th, we're going to see Judge Juan Merchan, perhaps the most corrupt, unethical judge in the United States, absolutely no integrity, a supporter of Joe Biden. He's the one, of course, that he did not give a fair trial to President Trump. He is corrupt. Let's just call him what he is. He is corrupt and doesn't care. His daughter's making millions and millions of dollars off of that particular case against Donald Trump, and doing it to raise money for Joe Biden and the Democrats. And I'm sure that somehow Juan Merchan is getting something under the table from somebody. Yeah, that usually happens with corrupt people. They're getting paid. Now, whether it's from his daughter or something else, or he's figuring, hey, I'm going to have a life after this, and I'm going to be the judge that went after Donald Trump and beat him. Well, it ain't over yet, Juan Merchan. But Juan Merchan right now, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts that the Democratic Party has been in contact with Judge Merchan and telling him, hey, judge, unethical judge, lack of integrity judge, corrupt judge, we need your help one more time. We've got to make sure that we shut down Donald Trump, maybe even keep him from getting the nomination, or at least cripple him so much that no one's going to vote for him. We need you to sentence Donald Trump to prison. And that's coming up on July 11th. Now, again, I don't know for sure, But based on what I've seen from Juan Merchan, as corrupt as he is, in fact, he ought to be tossed out of the bar, tossed out of the judgeship, tossed out of the country, maybe sent back to his home country. He is going to sentence Donald Trump to prison. Now, it may be 6 months, it may be a year, but this is why we need the Supreme Court, because there needs to be an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court to stop this utter nonsense. Because what we see more than anything right now is the Democratic Party engaging in election interference. Remember, they are the party who says, we want to protect democracy. They don't know what democracy is, though it comes from a couple Greek words, which basically means mob rule. They want to protect democracy by keeping Donald Trump off the ballot, by keeping you from voting for certain things, by just corrupt as heck. Call it like it is, folks. They are corrupt. And they're going to do anything and everything they can to make sure that Donald Trump is off the ballot. They've tried it in places like Maine and other states. But now, if he's still on the ballot, they want to wound him even further than they already have. And prison might do that, because if they sentence, or if he sentences, and remember, I'm going to say it again, Juan Merchan, the most corrupt judge in the United States, the most election interfering judge in the United States, the most partisan judge in the United States, the most willing to set aside any integrity, if he ever had any, I kind of doubt that, to do the ruling, do the bidding of the Democratic Party by kind of sealing Donald Trump's fate by putting him in prison. Is that going to keep him off the ballot? Is he going to be taken off to Rikers Island almost immediately? Is he going to be elected president at that particular time? I think he still could be. But what is that going to look like? And of course, at the same time, there are Democrats who want Donald Trump murdered. And you might say, Stewart, that's ridiculous. What do you mean? Well, they're already trying to take his Secret Service protection away if he goes to jail. And let me tell you, Donald Trump, if he went to prison, he would be victimized almost immediately, because the Democratic Party kind of has a way of covering up their antics by making sure cameras are turned off in certain places. And, well, you remember the story of other people who've been slaughtered in prison. But if Donald Trump goes to prison, it is totally meant not based on the verdict, which was bull, not based on the charges, which was also bull, but based on the fact that the Democratic Party wants to keep Donald Trump from becoming president again, because, of course, they're going to lose power then. And like any dictatorial organization, any dictators, go back to Stalin, go back to Hitler, etc., they want to hold on to power. And by the way, you've heard me talk about Adolf Hitler in the past, and I think in a video I did, I talked about Night of the Long Knives, which, what was it, 1934 or so, where Adolf Hitler had his political enemies arrested and killed, many of them hung by piano wire, etc. That's the Democratic Party today. That is what they have been doing, the same type of thing, because they can't win an election based on policies at all, period, because their policies are horrible. Horrible. And, I just have to make a couple of comments about the debate. Joe Biden is a proven liar, plagiarist, all the other things, corrupt as heck. He's been lying to you, well, since he became senator about, almost 50 years or so ago, and certainly as president, because remember during the debate, not one single service member has been killed during my tenure as president. Now, of course, he is upset the Gold Star families who lost 13 of their kids in Afghanistan. What was that, in August of 2001? Joe Biden. And there's been another 3 since then. But no one has been killed under my administration. What a frickin' liar this man is. He has no shame whatsoever. And the economy is great. I inherited a really bad economy from Donald Trump because inflation was 9%. Remember, you heard that? I took over at 9%. No, it was 1.4%, and you immediately destroyed it. Now, here's a guy, he's so corrupt, he's most likely brought in millions and millions of dollars from communist countries, certainly from the mayor of Moscow, and yes, it's going through his son, who's kind of that go-between. We've seen that. We've seen the communist in Red China, which, what does that tell you about Donald Trump's archenemy here, or our archenemy, Joe Biden? He is corrupt, period. But he lied over and over again. That was in between him stumbling over the words. And remember what I did with COVID, and I defeated Medicare. Yeah, you defeated Medicare. You've absolutely destroyed it along with everything else. And I want to save that for another video, and I'll tell you some personal stories about that. Yes, I just got on Medicare myself this month. And no, it's going to go down the tubes like Social Security, the way things are going. But here we are. What do the Democrats do at this particular point? They have to continue their election interference. They have to. They've got to. They figure that's our only way of surviving this. So they're going to go after Donald Trump in any way and every way they can. And let me tell you something. You've got to stop and think about this. If they could do this to Donald Trump, and they're going to try, if they can do it to Donald Trump, billionaire Donald Trump, ex-president Donald Trump, they went after him in the same corrupt way when he was president. Guess who else they can do this to? They can do it to you, which is what they did to a lot of the January 6 people who were arrested simply for being in the vicinity. Now, anybody who was engaged in any criminal activity on that day absolutely should be arrested and prosecuted. But simply because you showed up to tour the Capitol, whatever it may be, or if you were in bad enough shape to be murdered by a police officer, well, no, let's not call him a police officer, a gentleman who worked in the Congress. Now he's not even a gentleman. He shot and killed an unarmed woman during that particular time and bragged about it afterwards. And nothing has happened to him. And yes, I digressed. Forgive me. It's been a long day already. But getting back to it, Donald Trump is going to prison, or he's going to be sentenced in such a way somehow that he can be stopped or stymied. But let me tell you something about Donald Trump. And I have not always been a Trump supporter. I wasn't sure I wanted to vote for him the first time around. In fact, many, many years ago, I thought, no, he's not serious. He's doing this for attention. But I have been so impressed with the things that he has done. And the fact that he has willingly laid his life on the line for me, for you, for this country. He obviously loves America. He wants America to be first. And let me tell you, the Democrats don't care about that because most of them are communists nowadays, socialists, etc. They want America to be last because if America's last, well, that's a way of giving them more power and keeping them eternally in control. That's the start of a dictatorship. You know, they talk about Donald Trump, oh, he's going to become dictator. Yeah, the comment was, I'm going to be dictator for one day, and that is, you know, he's going to do certain things, such as drill, baby, drill, stop the illegal immigration, etc. And of course, you have to take the words in context, which sadly, based on what I have seen, a lot of people have difficulty, apparently, understanding what context means. They live their lives with anecdotes, and while anecdotes can be fun, they're not always truisms, all right? But I want to close out here. I know I've taken a lot of your time up, and there's so much more I want to talk about. But we'll cut this short now. Donald Trump, they're going to imprison him or do something similar to that to get him out of this race. At least they think so. And let me tell you what I'm going to do. Even if they sentence him to prison, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Why? Because he has laid down his life for you and I. And as I told you just a few minutes ago, no greater love hath any man than he laid down his life for a friend. Do you think that Joe Biden would do that? Oh, I'm running to protect democracy. No, he's running. Well, actually, he's got a shadow government behind him. Not the first time, by the way, that we've seen that happen. Go back to Woodrow Wilson, and right now I'm talking about Jill Biden, who's just as corrupt as can be as well. Elder abuse, absolutely. But remember back, I think it was October of 1919, we had what I think was a pretty crappy president at that time, Woodrow Wilson, had a stroke. And his wife and physician kind of took over. While they claim that they didn't really make any decisions, well, the shadow government was in place. And really, we should have seen the vice president at that particular time become president. But she kind of carried out, just like Joe Biden, the remainder of his presidency. And speaking of which, I just have to make a comment. Did you see after the debate, Joe Biden showed up at Waffle Iron, which apparently was a big enough place to hold his entire audience, tongue-in-cheek, of course, but Joe Biden said, "Oh, honey, you did a great job. You answered every question. I felt like I was watching somebody talk to a 6-year-old, and though I'm not sure he raises to that level of intelligence, but utterly ridiculous. But she is kind of running things behind the scenes. Elder abuse, absolutely. And she needs to be stopped as well. But it won't happen. She'll continue on just like the rest of the corrupt Democratic Party because she doesn't want to lose power. She wants to stay in the White House. But you know something? I think with Donald Trump, he really doesn't want to be in the White House, except that he knows that the country needs him at this particular time. And you know who the country doesn't need? Doesn't need Jill Biden, doesn't need Joe Biden, doesn't need Chuck Schumer, doesn't need Nancy Pelosi, doesn't need Jerry Nadler, and Adam Schiff, the biggest Schiff stain on the American horizon here. Oh, corrupt as can be. We don't need that. What we need are people that have ethics, honor, and some integrity and love their country. Folks, that's Donald Trump. Is he going to go to prison? I don't know. What do you think? Over and out. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.